2017. Joey Palatine.
Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum.
What a phenomenal guest. I know
Bum, 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 bum. Here's Johnny. Thank you, Ed. Well, hello there, social media family. Being of any subscribers and our visitors alike, of any persons among yourselves who are supposed to be affiliated or associated with and are representing my own YouTube social media channel and likewise chat room or comment section. How are you all doing? Well. Hey, what's popping? What's dropping? And what's hopping? Everybody! Is it all good in the hood, as they say? With you and yours, your loved ones, or family and friends? Hopefully. And whereas I would like to think that the same can or could possibly be said and stated for the record when it comes to me and mine. And move right along. And now let's just get to the present social media broadcast of video content. Let's just dive into it. Cannonball! Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah. Anyway, though, that being the present or today's or tonight's social media broadcast of video content is about regarding or making some such reference to the roosters coming home to nest. Cock-a-doodle-doo! And translated to be defined as meaning to complement that of a statement, and as it is of a corn phrase that was either paraphrased or quoted exactly, coming from a male person, the late minister Malcolm X. And as he himself had unfortunately, expressed his views and opinions of a line of thought in commenting upon the assassination of the late JFK, being of whom was not only one of the better, but one of the best presidents of the United States of America, being of whom American citizens had ever had the pleasure, the opportunity, and or the blessed chance to become subjected to experiencing. And for this great social science experiment of a democratic republic or democracy. Now, I don't know why the late Malika Shabazz, aka Mr. Malcolm X, had made that statement of an erroneous nature. I myself consider it to be, because it was not like JFK was like LBJ and etc. Give him hell, Harry, if you know what I mean, who wanted to get out his own Truman story to remind, a race of the non-whites that they're not putting us on their program according to their plans, but we have them on ours, whereas we could dictate, what they are to think, say, and do. And during a time frame period of chronicled American history, years before the other had decided, the other commander in chief, late president, DC president of the USA, United States of America, had decided to give the green light to have bombs dropped of his own on still another non-white race of people, the ethnic minorities. This here, likewise, Caucasian, for DC, because that's a racist statement, to compliment that of a kingdom or empire run by, we have had one Third Reich of a dictatorship. We don't need to keep producing any for a caucasoid or Caucasian or white race of people who have always been the main ones who are mostly pillaging and plundering other races of peoples and or countries or nations otherwise. That would be a start in the right direction to just change the name of the White House. Why not just call it the People's House, or the American People's House? Yeah. Anyway, though. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold that thought, y'all. Shut the fuck up. Shit. Although I was trying to give him, regardless of how I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt himself, the what you call the religious orator, but with all things considered, he himself could just be another dickhead, prick, jab ass, SOB bastard, prosperity preacher man, televangelist. And I really don't listen to that sugar honey iced tea of a religious nature anytime sooner than a sabbatical Sunday of a weekend. And speaking upon those matters now, they come now before I get back to the original subject matter, being of a topic of discussion to be debated, of a given argument with the many different views and opinions to be affiliated, associated with, representing some such. Most religious orators are nothing but religious shysters, charlatans, religious shysters, religious charlatans, religious con artists, religious vampires, false brethren, false prophets, and antichrist. And where it's bad enough that I could feel demon oppressed and to get the business coming from one who is the main persons for like his or her kind who are demon possessed otherwise. And if I turn it on, tune into a religious channel station for television or radio or whatever medium of electronic transmissions, frequency circulation, anytime sooner than a sabbatical Sunday of a given weekend, it would only be to get back at one of these present neighbors from down hell, or probably some problem neighbors among themselves, especially the main one being of a local poop butt, pissant, creepy, cowardly, and faggoty drug pusher who resides in a place where an apartment, just a couple few apartment doors down from me, who has always been attempting to give me the business. So much foul play, a monkey business with this nigger ass, nigger SOB ass on a daily nightly basis. And whereas all of his bad vibes he generates against me being a karma otherwise is unjustified as well as unwarranted and welcome. Or whatever I said. From follow me into the business office of management, whereas all I'm doing is going in there to renew my apartment rental lease and speaking upon those matters. Likewise, now come back before I get back to the original submat type of discussion on getting on, for the present social media broadcast video content. And whereas once he had came in behind me, he had to flip the script and make it seem like he himself is the victim of prey and I'm the predator parasite, to exercising some such other foul, twosome power plays of nearly riding his bike or bicycle, to simply saying to my person, whereas he was just a couple few inches away from my physical body, rode up behind me and then rode alongside of me, didn't bother to say excuse me, so I had to call the police on him for that. Illegal criminal offense of a civil and human rights violation of a hate crime in his own right, of an incident, to sitting on a stoop outside the building, threatening my life verbally, implying extreme violent physical contact could be made against my person, as it could possibly be orchestrated, initiated, and perpetrated, be he have any homies or accomplices in crime or not, so I called the police on him for that. To running down the sidewalk, regardless of whether it was in the dead of winter or the dead of summer, for cold winter season or hot summer season. And as he ran down the sidewalk behind me, as I'm trying to catch, as in a means of transport to become a part of ridership of mass transit or public transportation system, being at the train station across the street from the building, whereas I have had to take a detour and catch a bus much rather instead when he ran down the sidewalk behind me with one hand in his coat jacket pocket like he's packing heat and ready to, snuff my lights out and have me slipping in the darkness, as the vintage classic pop culture song number would say, from back in the day. Or where he's making like he's about to smoke me, more than a Camel or Marlboro cigarette. Like as if he said, "Can't nobody tell me nothing," like a two-bit punk urban cowboy otherwise, Or like he's about to snuff my lights out with a 6-shooter, Yeah, so I had to call the police on him for that. A hate crime in his own right. To at one time or another, I'm coming back from the hospital and he's standing in the front entrance and exitway of the building, and someone starts giving him on time. And whereas I decided to try to enter via one or two back doors otherwise, for the back of some such, and whereas he must have ran from the front to the back of the building, and whereas there's one or two back doors he goes in and out of, make his entrance and exit out of more than the other one. Mainly or mostly the one next to my apartment door, regardless of the lock mechanism being jammed or messed up and needing repairs, where he would prop something in between the door and the border to make sure he can come and go as easily as he pleases, as he could possibly with the other back door, where there's nothing wrong with that one. And whereas I barely made it into my apartment and closed and locked my apartment door, and he's standing outside of it, misbehaving practically, if not possibly, like he himself is about to kick my apartment door in a physical kind of way. And whereas I barely managed to get off an emergency 911 call to the police, just in case for that life crisis, although my cell phone was down out and at the same time recharging it, And so much for that conversation dialogue. And move right along. As I think of it with that in my mind's attention, try to backtrack here. The reason I purpose being on site going to following to continue from when my person had last left off, as he finished up as he completed form of previous prior line thought, and to complement the original subject matter of the topic of discussion to be debated, of a given argument with many different views and opinions to be affiliated, associated with, and representing some such thereof. So the late Mr. Malcolm X was saying in more words or less when asked question of what he thinks about the Kennedy assassination attempt, and whereas he was saying the roosters come home to nest. Now, I don't agree with dissing the late JFK because, as far as I'm concerned, he was not just one of the better, but one of the best presidencies, presidency or president of the presidents of the USA that we had ever had for ourselves as American citizens. You know, but nevertheless, I do agree with he himself saying the roosters have come home to nest, being because America, the USA, the United States of America, has a horrific chronicled history of blood on its hands when it comes to the mistreatment of ethnic minority races of people's persons, and particularly, specifically, and especially when it comes to a black and brown piece. No, especially when it comes to blacks more than Hispanics, you know, and from killing off huge populations of blacks during race riots, then confiscating their property, and then from taking it and building other communities to burying black metropolises, turning it into parks or great bodies or waters of uh, uh, you know ponds or lakes. Yeah, that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Should I continue? The great race riot of 1919 in Chicago was started all been because a black male youth had mistakenly ventured across the imaginary race line. Although it wasn't official, but it was official enough. It wasn't like, you know, printed in paperwork documents. The whites over here and the blacks over there. Do not cross the line. But everybody had a sense that there was an imaginary line there. So the black male ventured into, waters for Lake Michigan that was not prohibited. That was not permitted for blacks to cross on over to swim with the whites. That's how that race riot started. And then there was the race riot of Oklahoma, you know, whereas still another black youth, he was like on an elevator with a white girl, and he was just trying to get to where he had to go, and she was supposed to be, back in the day when they had elevator persons to push the buttons for the different floors. I don't know if they still do that nowadays. But anyway, though, the elevator had accidentally jerked, and the black male youth had fell into the white girl, and she wasn't hearing it. She wasn't looking at the possibility that it could have been a mistake or error or some means otherwise. She just looked at it that the black male youth, he lunged at me, was looking hungry as a boogaboo, like Seymour's hungry, and he wanted to hit the panties. He wanted to snatch some panties, To be compared on to the Emmett Till hate crime incident when the young black male from Chicago had went down south, and his elders had told him, be careful how you carry himself down there, because the laws and bylaws down south are totally different from the laws and bylaws up north. And where she was supposed to have whistled at a white girl otherwise, Karen Bryant, that racist redneck bitch or hoe is dead now. But one time she had supposedly tried to come clean with others to resolve the issue, but then she went back into hiding. She had blood on her hands, you know. That's probably where they, not just could possibly be, but probably where they get the nickname for Karen, for any racist redneck white girl, closet Klan or closet neo-Nazi. Yeah, anyway, so the USA, it has blood on its hands, though it has a rich history in democracy that could be utilized or made uses of, but unfortunately, likewise, it has, a concrete chronicle history of prejudice, racism, and it could be considered as one of those countries or nations to be thought of as New Rome, New Babylon, whatever, and to complement biblical prophecy, how the great Babylon shall be cast into a great body of water, and like a big old rock, and not the surface anymore. You know what I'm saying? There were a number of other things that I wanted to speak upon, and this interjection, how, as usual, blacks back then, like black males were hanged and black females were raped, you know, a number of times during the pre-civil rights movement. Though it's still happening, but not as much as before. And even so, Hispanic males and females had become subject to experiencing, so much racial prejudices being of a nature. Hispanic males being hanged from trees and Hispanic female being raped, by racist, redneck, semi-faggoty, puke white boys, a closet Klan and closet Kraut, a closet Knots. See, white boy pukes. Anyway, though, I'm just going to close out. I'm sorry if you know, this here particular social media broadcast video content may not seem as eloquent as it could be with providing statistical racial percentile proofs to support my given argument, but then it's really not that far fetched. I mean, you can Google it yourselves, the great social injustices that black and brown or black and Hispanic peeps and folks have become subject to experiencing. Not to mention my other race of people being of the white Jewish. And therefore, in this last note of interest, I would like to conclude by saying, and that is, if you have not gotten Christ as your own personal Lord and Savior, I will hope that you would think to do so now while the blood is still running warm in your veins, by recognizing or realizing what he himself had done or did upon the cross, Calvary, and Hill of Golgotha, suffering at the hands of Roman soldiers upon the orders of their superiors, religious, political, militaristic, and etc. But then, nevertheless, he went to that cross of Calvary to become the perfect sacrifice, the only sacrifice for you as well as for me. Don't steal my trademark physical gesture. I'm going to have to copyright it sometime, unless I want to risk it being, plagiarized. Whereas if any of us, regardless of race, walk of life, faction of society, lifestyle preference, age, gender, and etc., were to profess some such faith in him, from there we become or be blessed in one regard or another, more ways one. First and foremost, for this salvation, which is the only means by which any of us can or could possibly become citizens of the kingdom of heaven, and likewise, get the only fire insurance against the fiery flames of the lake of fire, damn hell that burns with fire, brimstone, and sulfuric acid. And then, second of all, we would be blessed, with his deliverance. But first, you have got to get his salvation, being of the blood sacrifice, salvation and deliverance, being a blood sacrifice of his grace, his great commission to permit himself to become the sacrificial lamb of God, to restore the breach between mankind or humankind and himself, you know, so that if anybody were to profess some such faith in him, you now have a chance to, you know, become of a different destination. Though at one time or another, there was a part of heaven and damn hell, you know, because Christ had not been crucified or had not become subject to experiencing the crucifixion as yet. So nobody was pure enough to go to heaven. Then, because each and every one of us is guilty as sin, with the exception of the one human that is as pure as the driven snow, being a God who had come in human flesh and who had been impregnated by one of the third persons of the Trinity otherwise, you know, whereas the seed that was planted in Mary, you know, where she couldn't have any other children by mere human man otherwise. No, she had children, not to make contradictions, but she couldn't have, that is, she couldn't produce any children. No, she could produce children before, but she couldn't produce any children after, until, you know, God had impregnated her with the Christ. You understand what I'm saying? Whereas he had come into the world as a human, and until he were to be crucified, you know, there was a part of heaven and hell, because nobody could go to heaven until he was crucified. And whereas any believers in God of mere humans who would exit this world would be placed in that heaven and hell up until the time of Christ's crucifixion. And then from there, once he was crucified, he went to damn hell to, you know, get those believers in him of human souls out of that part of hell, then which was a heaven reserved for believers in God, you know, in hell, compared to the other parts of hell was reserved for any, you know, unsaved, lost, damn human souls of unbelievers and unbelievers. And whereas once Christ had been crucified, he went to hell and grabbed those believers in God in him out of that part of hell, being a heaven that was in hell, and took that heaven that was in hell out of hell. Whereas now, if any believers in God were to, you know, make that transition for the great beyond and hereafter, the afterlife, you know, we no longer go to what was a heaven and hell, because that has been taken out of hell. We go straight to heaven otherwise. So any part of damn hell now is just damn hell, you know. You hear what I'm saying? Anyway, though, I hope you all had gotten something out of this here particular present social media broadcast and video content, especially regarding the salvation plan of God, our Lord and Savior Christ. And people in damn hell do want ice water, you know, and it would be bad enough for a believer in God to feel demon oppressed than to be of a person otherwise of a unbeliever, non-believer, of a lost down human soul, to feel demon possessed. And at times it would seem that any believers in God coming off like prodigal sons and, you know, daughters, depending on whichever one's gender, could practically, if not possibly, think that one has become demon possessed rather than demon oppressed. There is a difference, you know. I'm gonna have to pray about that, you know, because lately I have been, you know, not altogether, but quite a contradiction, as the lesser two evils being a prodigal son, that is. And whereas the worst two evils is into those closet devil worshippers who make up most churchgoers, whatever religious denominations, from the pools to the pulpits, especially when it comes to the prosperity preacher man, televangelist, you know, or religious radio personalities of Jim Jones wannabes in their own right. Likewise, fleecing the flock, as there are more prosperity preacher men, televangelists, and prosperity preacher woman televangelists, fleecing the flock in their own right. stealing all that tax-free money from the tithe offering trays of the mega churches, taking up a couple few, or two or three city or suburban blocks, draining bank accounts dry as they empty wallets and purses. You know, like they are attempting to squeeze blood out of a turnip. You know, all that free tax-free money coming from members of and visitors to their mega churches, supposed so-called religious sanctuaries or religious cults, and as they kill the eardrums of members and visitors alike with their own versions of the supposed so-called updated, new and improved Jonestown Kool-Aid mixed punch, but in the form of sly words to pull the wool over others' eyes, to jab and connive and to get them to donate money to their cause, their watered down version of the gospel messages of salvation, whereas they are not any closer to heaven than those who they would pull the wool over the eyes of, you know. And whereas others' monies support and finance their alternative, expensive lifestyle preferences so that they can either make a down payment upon or make a purchase altogether of just another mansion, a chauffeur driven, expensive automobile or motor vehicle, a private jet, private yacht, and etc. with other people's money. They, they are fool enough to give it to them. Even if these prosperity preacher man and prosperity preacher woman send them to the doghouse, the poorhouse, rescue mission shelters, the, the big house, and or the crazy house. And how can the blind lead the blind? But what does the profit man to gain the whole world and lose his own soul? For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. John 3:16. Hey, but then you all take care and be safe, be blessed, not stressed. And I hope that your person had gotten something out of what was said for this present social media broadcast. I really wasn't going to, go about airing or go live with some stuff for a time frame period of more than a quarter of an hour, 15 minutes. That's, you know, as in half an hour. But then God works in mysterious ways, as they say. Then pray for me, I've been feeling like a prodigal son, being less 2 years lately, you know. And anyway, though, pray for me, any of you all who are members of the household of faith, that is, or the family of God. And I will get back with you if and when sometime later. And hopefully I can pray for you all, your persons as well, you believers in God or unbelievers and unbelievers. Once I feel inspired to do so. Y'all take care. We out. Peace.